No tengo ni idea, la verdad. Yo estaré ahí el 28 de junio. En un principio iba a ser Islam, después que Charles. Si se cayera Charles y me tienen que dar a Arman, la verdad que el resultado con todos sería el mismo. Me los bailo a todos.
It's a business, of course. If I'm gonna be a champ and he wants to fight for the belt, of course I'll fight it.
The lightweight division just got even more electrifying as tensions build ahead of the high-stakes clash between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira. The UFC has thrown a wild card into the mix, announcing Arman Tsarukyan as the backup fighter for the event. Building on this development, Tsarukyan himself confirmed through an Instagram reply that he's officially serving as the backup for the upcoming title fight. Should anything prevent one of the headliners from making it to the octagon, Tsarukyan is ready to step in and seize the moment on short notice, keeping himself locked in and prepared for any last-minute call. He stated, "I am the backup for UFC 317. Expanding on his mindset, Tsarukyan made it clear he'd have no hesitation stepping in against Ilia Topuria if the opportunity arose. For Tsarukyan, if a belt is on the line, there's simply no reason to turn down the fight. At the end of the day, he sees it for what it is, a business move that makes sense both competitively and financially."
I'm happy because new name in our division, and he's tough. He's a champ in 145. And it's always good when you get new name in your division, and especially like Ilia Topuria.
Would you have any issues fighting him?
I mean, it's a business, of course. If I'm gonna be a champ and he wants to fight for the belt, of course I'll fight it.
Okay.
But for me, to be honest, doesn't matter.
If a guy like Ilia Topuria does decide to go up, do you give him an opportunity?
You know, so my goal to get the belt, and from there I'm just gonna think about business, because what I wanted to be a world champion right now. I don't think about like after who I'm gonna fight. I just focus on Islam and about this fight. I'll take care about this fight, and from this fight I'm gonna when I win the title, the sport things is done. It's gonna start just business, and I'm gonna pick with who UFC pays me more. I'm gonna fight, and doesn't matter who is gonna be.
Hey.
It's gonna be business things, not just the sport.
Yeah, I like that.
Furthermore, Arman shared his thoughts on a potential clash with Ilia Topuria, expressing confidence that his experience and skill set would allow him to control Topuria on the ground. While he acknowledged that smaller, compact fighters like Topuria can be tricky to keep pinned down, Tsarukyan admitted that the real test would come inside the cage. Whether he could hold Topuria down for an extended stretch is something he believes only a live fight would truly answer.
Однозначно, я думаю, что смог бы перевести, точно перевел бы, но он такой маленький, короткий, ему таких, наоборот, тяжело удерживать. Перевести перевел бы, но вот удержать 5 минут, не знаю. Даю, увидим. Ну, я люблю работать локтями, мне не нужно там все 5 минут держать его, если я попаду один раз хорошо локтем, и мне уже будет намного легче драться.
Shifting focus to Topuria's recent career decisions, Tsarukyan also weighed in on Ilia's move up in weight, viewing it as a smart move that benefits more than just the fighter making the jump. In his eyes, the entire lightweight roster stands to gain financially, as the added star power draws greater attention and increases the earning potential for everyone competing in the division.
He should move to 155 because he has a big name. As much as we have big names in our division, as better for us, you know, we're gonna make more money, and our weight class gonna be like a, you know, famous. It's still famous. 155 fight, one of the best, my opinion, one of the best fighters, and because of Conor, Habib, you know, like Islam, Poirier, Gage, you know, they're so big names, and if Ilia move to 155, you know, it's gonna be good for us.
So they just said you have 3 names. It's Islam, Ilia, Oliveira.
Meanwhile, Ilia Topuria acknowledged that Arman Tsarukyan is the designated backup for the title bout, but made it clear that it makes no difference to him who stands across the cage on fight night. Whether it's Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, or Arman Tsarukyan himself, Topuria remains confident that the result will be the same, his hand raised in victory as he claims championship gold.
No tengo ni idea, la verdad. Yo estaré ahí el 28 de junio. En un principio iba a ser Islam, después de Charles. Si se cayera Charles y me tienen que dar a Arman, la verdad que el resultado con todos sería el mismo. Me los bailo a todos.
Once Ilia had been skeptical about the idea of sharing the cage with Arman Tsarukyan, suggesting that Arman still needed to build his name before such a matchup made sense. Although he didn't entirely rule it out, Topuria at the time was more interested in a potential showdown with Dustin Poirier, seeing that as a clash with bigger buzz and excitement. But in the end, there was no use avoiding Tsarukyan, with Topuria set to face Charles Oliveira. Tsarukyan has been named the official backup for this high-stakes bout, bringing the two a step closer to an inevitable showdown.
There are so many excited fights in the lightweight division.
Even Arman now, I guess he's kind of...
Yeah, Arman needs to build himself a little bit more, you know. But at this point, just imagine a fight between me and... I love that dog, Dustin Poirier. He's a fighter, you know what I mean? You know that he goes in and he fights till he dies. You're gonna have that guy in front of you fighting and try to take your head off. That's a very exciting fight for me, and I think for the fans also. Islam is a great fight. Charles is a great fight. Justin Gaethje is a great fight. I can mention you so many great fights that I could have in the lightweight division.
Turning to Charles Oliveira's perspective, the former champion made it clear that his focus is locked on reclaiming championship gold, regardless of who stands in his path. For Oliveira, the opponent is secondary as long as a title is on the line. He's ready to go through whoever it takes to secure the belt once again.
É para isso que eu tô aqui, eu tô motivado para isso. Você tem que ter coisa na sua vida que te motiva. Esse cinturão me motiva, é ele que eu tô buscando, não importa quem é o campeão, não importa quem tá com esse cinturão, eu tô em busca dele.
It doesn't matter who's the champion, doesn't matter who's got it. That's what motivates me. That's where I work for. That's what I want. And as long as that belt's right there, it doesn't matter who it is. I'm gonna want that belt.
Voltar para onde que ele nunca deveria ter saído. E você sabe, o campeão tem nome.
I dream about it. I work for it, and I dream about this all the time. I can see it in my hands again. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm gonna go out there, get that belt again, and I'm gonna get the belt back to where it never should have left, because the champion has a name.
Further underlining his mindset, Oliveira described the fight as a perfect challenge at the right time. While acknowledging Ilia Topuria's talent, he confidently predicted that he would knock out the undefeated contender, emphasizing that he has nothing left to prove at this stage of his career.
É uma grande luta, ele é grande lutador, mas eu não preciso provar mais nada pra ninguém de quem eu sou, o que eu já fiz dentro do cage. Essa luta chegou numa oportunidade gigantesca, eu vou nocautear esse cara, essa é real.
But he's gonna knock this guy out.
Cara, na realidade, a gente já estamos lá dentro, vai fazer 15 anos, né? Eu já vi muitos desses caras que falaram muita coisa, que eu desisto, que eu vou perder, que vai me nocautear, que vai finalizar, e aí chega na hora e eles não fazem nada. Então, como eu falei, eu respeito todos eles, esse é mais um cara que eu respeito, mas do mesmo jeito que ele tem sonhos, também tenho sonhos, tenho promessas, então eu vou buscar isso aí o tempo inteiro.
Adding to the discussion, James Lynch weighed in on the UFC's latest decision, expressing relief that the organization finally came to its senses. Reflecting on the drama that unfolded at UFC 311, which saw Arman Tsarukyan effectively blacklisted, Lynch pointed out the inconsistency in matchmaking. In his view, Arman had earned his title shot long before Charles Oliveira was given another opportunity, especially considering Arman had already secured a win over the former champion.
So this is a legit thing. He will be the backup. And thank God the UFC is coming to their senses here. You know, we know that Arman's sort of on the blacklist from the UFC with, you know, the whole situation that happened at UFC 311. But I mean, realistically, Arman should be fighting for the title over Charles Oliveira. He beat him last year. He should be the one next fighting Ilia Topuria. I know there was some talk about maybe Arman didn't want to fight Ilia. I'm sure if he was fighting for the title, I don't think Arman is going to turn down an opportunity against Ilia Topuria. Also, why would he agree to be the backup? What if Charles is out? He'd have to fight Topuria anyways. So I just commend the UFC for coming to their senses here. Like, I was worried they were going to sideline him or not giving him an opportunity. We've seen a number of fighters lately that have been sort of pushed to the side by the UFC. Were you surprised that the UFC did this? I'll be honest, I am. I kind of figured they were punishing Arman for not, you know, taking, you know, this fight. You know, like I figured Arman wasn't going to be in the picture of this at all, but glad to see they're at least giving him some leeway here and giving him the opportunity to be the backup, which I think is great.
On the other hand, Kamaru Usman threw his full support behind Ilia Topuria. The former welterweight champion emphasized Oliveira's long-standing tendency to get hurt during fights, while praising Topuria's combination of power and killer instinct. In Usman's view, that makes Ilia the clear favorite heading into this contest.
Henry.
Woo! Tell that ain't fire, Kush.
Hey, 100%. This is exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. Yes, I do believe Ilia Topuria can win that fight. You see it. Charles Oliveira gets hurt in a lot of fights, and he gets dropped in a lot of fights. And so now you throw in a guy like Ilia that doesn't just hurt you, he will get you out of there, that mixes up the attack, goes to the body, goes to the head. I think Ilia is the favorite in that fight. Taking nothing away from Charles Oliveira. Charles is very, very dangerous, and Charles is very, very good. But I think Ilia is a favorite in that fight, and I think 100% he goes out there and he gets through Charles Oliveira. You 100%, he's next for that.
Echoing similar sentiments, Lucas Tracy pointed out that much of the MMA community has already accepted the likelihood of Oliveira coming up short, even as many continue to frame the bout as a tightly contested affair. He suggested that fans might be dressing up the narrative to make the fight seem more competitive than it truly is.
Ilia Topuria is going to dominate Charles Oliveira this month, and I've been seeing a lot of people sort of hyping themselves up a little bit too much about how competitive this matchup is going to be. I think there are a lot of MMA fans that have accepted that Oliveira is probably going to lose. But again, there's lots of people that they like to just play with the idea of Charles mincing up Topuria, or this is a lot closer, or I'm worried for Topuria. Bedtime saying he's worried for Topuria. MMA Guru is wondering if Topuria's power will translate. Can he bully people at 155? And I think that what a lot of that is they're trying to make this fight seem a lot more interesting than it actually might be.
Reinforcing his position, Tracy confidently predicted that Topuria would knock out Oliveira decisively. While acknowledging that Oliveira presents a certain level of danger, he sees the outcome as inevitable.
Don't get me wrong, it's awesome. It's a great fight. I absolutely love it. These are two of my favorite fighters, and it has potential to be fireworks. And even though I think Ilia Topuria is going to dominate Charles Oliveira, and I think it's just pretty obvious, he's going to knock him out badly, I think that at least Charles Oliveira represents some danger. And if you're an Oliveira fan, I think it's time to accept it, that he might lose. He probably will. And that it's okay. He's already had a great career. But yeah, I think this is going to be a rough one for Charles Oliveira. If he gets the belt back, that will be incredible. That will be amazing. It'll be a shame that we don't have this, 28-year-old Ilia Topuria with 5 more years left in MMA worth of superstardom, but he can still get back. But either way, it'll be a good thing for Charles Oliveira to get the belt back. It would be a pretty incredible upset, and he would prove a lot of doubters wrong, including myself, because I'm confident that Topuria is just too good. Knocking out Max Holloway is not something just to forget about. That is significant, guys. He not only had the skill to go tit for tat with him, but he had the power to put that guy's lights out. That guy's lights have never been put out.
Offering a contrasting take, the MMA Guru insisted that Charles Oliveira remains a serious threat despite the hype surrounding Topuria. He emphasized the difference in pace and style between lightweight and featherweight, arguing that Oliveira's ability to close distance, force scrambles, and threaten takedowns could disrupt Topuria's rhythm.
So we've got Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Very intriguing stuff. Very, very hyped up fight. I'm leaning towards Ilia Topuria. I think Charles Oliveira can win. I think he can, he can get in there. He can clash with Ilia Topuria. He can threaten a takedown. It's different at lightweight. The finishing potential at lightweight is very different than the featherweight division. When at featherweight you see a guy like Ilia Topuria who just can knock you out, and all of a sudden they stand out as this insane. I do feel like finishing potential stands out a lot more at featherweight than it does at lightweight. So Ilia's going to be facing a much more dangerous fighter in front of him. Not in terms of skill. You got Volkanovski at featherweight. These are very skilled guys. Max Holloway. But in terms of danger, and Ilia is a guy who throws himself into danger in these fights.
At the same time, Guru also pointed out a recurring flaw: Charles's tendency to get dropped during exchanges, a vulnerability that could prove disastrous against a sharp striker like Topuria.
So I do think that Ilia Topuria is going to win this fight. I got Ilia Topuria by finish, because I don't think Oliveira is going to be able to play a counter-striking game on the back foot. I just don't see that happening. So I think if Ilia Topuria is going to lose, or Oliveira is going to try and win, he's going to try and damage Topuria from the clinch, shoot offensively with a grappling, which he could get something done from. He could get a takedown and get the back. That's Oliveira. You know, he could do that, but we haven't seen that. And I don't think Ilia's like more lost on the ground than Michael Chandler is when it comes to giving up his back, or I think Ilia's got that, you know? I just think Ilia's hands are going to be way faster. And I think Ilia's hands are going to get through the guard of Oliveira, or around the guard of Oliveira, should I say. I think he's going to find body shots in this fight as well. So I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria. I think there'll be a moment where he knocks down Charles quite badly, stands him back up after like a failed TKO finish, and then puts it on him again and maybe puts Charles Oliveira away with a body shot, headshot combination up against the cage. I've got Ilia Topuria winning, but another part that's interesting about this fight is Islam Makhachev's vacated the lightweight world championship.
However, Guru also warned that if Topuria suffers a loss, his time at the top might be short-lived. With massive popularity in Spain and early financial success, Guru suggested that maintaining hunger and discipline would be the true challenge for Ilia moving forward.
But the thing about Ilia is, normally with him, the featherweight champion just became champ. He knocked out Volkanovski, he knocked out Holloway back-to-back.
Yep.
You would think the next fight he'd be some minus 1,000 favorite.
Yeah.
But now he's got got to be put into these 50-50s. He's forced it upon himself because he doesn't want to reset hunger.
Yeah.
He needs to maintain hunger because he's now made the millions. I think he was already quite well off anyway.
Yeah.
He's quite a smart dude. So now he's sort of going into this Makhachev matchup. The problem I have with it is his style, he's a bit of a bully.
Wrapping up the discussion, Michael Bisping noted that Topuria will likely enter the fight as the favorite. Bisping cautioned against underestimating Oliveira, pointing to his elite skill set and dangerous finishing ability. He also underscored the wear and tear Oliveira may have accumulated throughout a grueling career, which could influence the outcome.
If Ilia Topuria is successful against Charles do Bronx Oliveira, which I would imagine that he's going to be a favorite coming into this one with the bookies. If Ilia Topuria beats him, Ilia versus Islam is the fight to make at some point. Let's just imagine that Ilia Topuria beats Charles do Bronx Oliveira. That's not a given. We know Charles is amazing. We know he's dangerous. We know he's got the most submissions, the most bonuses. He's a dangerous, aggressive son of a bitch, okay? And he's very technical as well. And he's a buzzsaw. He's going to walk forward, punches, knees, elbows, you name it. He'll lock on a submission quick as a flash, right? Super dangerous, okay? Beat Michael Chandler via decision. Before that, lost to Arman Tsarukyan. The man's about 36 years old. He's had a long career. He's had close to 50 fights. A lot of wear and tear on the body.
Meanwhile, adding his voice to the wave of predictions surrounding the potential showdown, Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, made headlines by revealing he'd confidently wager $100,000 on Ilia Topuria if the opportunity arose. Despite backing Topuria as the likely victor, Mendez admitted his personal hope leans towards seeing Charles Oliveira reclaim glory.
Ilia, power puncher, boxer, low stance, versus Charles Oliveira, who kind of stands in a high Muay Thai stance, marches forward with knees. If someone gave you $100,000 to bet on that fight, who would you bet?
Ilia.
By knockout?
I don't know, but I would if someone gave me $100,000 and but if you're asking me who I would want to win, I'll put Charles. I'll put my money on Charles.
Yeah, that's who you'd want.
Yeah, so that's who I'd want.
Yeah.
But if you'd give me 100 to make 100, you know, if it's that type of even, like you get 100, you can make 100. I would put Ilia.
Yeah.
He feels he cannot be beaten.
Yeah, he really does.
In his breakdown, Mendez pointed out that Oliveira's best chance would be to utilize his knees and kicks to manage distance, warning that if the former champion fails to do so, the fight could slip further out of his control as it progresses.
It's basically because Charles is going to stand in there upright, like you're saying, and when he gets inside, he's going to use that boxing, and Charles' head's going to be up, and Ilia's got a really good way of connecting with that chin on the inside. Really, really nice, just like what he did with Volk. You know, and I think if Charles doesn't get him up the middle with knees or front kicks up the middle, he's going to have a hard time with his boxing against him, and he's going to have a hell of a time trying to take him down. So it's going to be one of those where Ilia's got more opportunities than Charles does. But Charles can surprise us with his length, you know, and up the middle would be really, really well.
As fight night draws closer, the stakes couldn't be higher, with Arman Tsarukyan waiting in the wings and both Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira laser focused on securing the belt. The lightweight division stands on the brink of a defining moment. Whether it's a clash of styles, a shocking upset, or a star-making performance, one thing is certain: fans are in for a spectacle that could reshape the title picture for years to come. Let us know your predictions in the comments below, and if you're enjoying these fight breakdowns, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. And we will see you in the next video with more exciting updates.